When it comes to being a musician, there's one thing a lot of people don't talk about, and that is artwork. I mean, if you think about it, anytime you release a single, an EP, a full album, whatever, you have to have artwork for that song. I mean, not only is artwork, I mean, it's inevitable, you have to have something there, but the more interesting or the more captivating the artwork sometimes equals more clicks, more plays, and everything. And especially when you're an independent musician, you usually have to do this on your own. And that causes a dilemma of if you don't know graphic design, you don't even know where to start, how to even make an album cover yourself. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make an entire album cover, a single cover, I mean, whatever title you want to use, 100% from scratch. And this is free. Every program I'm using, everything I'm doing is 100% free. And I'm going to do this live on camera. This is not scripted, meaning I have no idea how this album cover is going to come out. So let's jump into it. So first thing when it comes to creating an album cover is you want to have the actual picture. Now there's 3 ways to do this mainly. 1 is take the picture yourself. 2, get the picture from somewhere else. Or 3, draw it yourself. Now I'm assuming if you're a great drawer, maybe you can draw the picture and then take it, or you can draw it or create it in Paint or another type of program. But I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to show you basically what I did. I took a picture. This is one I took on my iPhone. So remember, you can just use your smartphone. And let's say I'm making a track called Shadow. So I'm just going to make that up. I'm making a track called Shadow. And I took basically a picture of myself. Obviously, just my shadow, obviously. But let's say you're like, you know what, Mark? I don't know. I can't really find a picture of a shadow. I can't draw one. So here's what you can do. You're going to go to the internet. And again, this is not scripted. So I have no idea what's going to pop up. Go to your web browser, and what you want to do is you want to go to Pixabay. Oh, wow. Did Google Chrome change its... Say hello to the new Chrome browser. No thanks. As you can tell, I did not expect that. That must have happened before I filmed this video. Anyway, so you want to go to Pixabay, and what Pixabay is it's free, royalty-free images. Now, that may sound a bit redundant, but this is important. Now, a royalty-free image is essentially an image that you can use for commercial purposes. So you can use an image, use it as your album cover, make money from it, and you won't get in any copyright strikes or infringements. You won't get in any legal issues. However, for most royalty-free images, you have to purchase them, like on different websites. So Pixabay, it's 100% free, as it says, stunning free images that are also royalty-free. So just go to pixabay.com if you want to use an image. That way you know everything that's on this site you won't have an issue with. So I'm going to type in Shadow. Again, I have no idea what to expect. So now here's the pros and cons. The pros with getting an image off the site is that it's usually going to be better. I mean, unless you're a professional photographer, unless you really know what you're doing, you're probably not going to have the highest quality photo. I mean, this is just me playing devil's advocate. As you can see here, some of these photos are pretty awesome, actually. I mean, some of these are really high quality. I actually like that one. That's really cool. That's kind of cool, but that's more a little bit creepy. I might actually use this one. I like this one. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go with free download. Obviously, this is all free. I'm going to do the highest quality one I can do. Bam. So I have this now downloading. Now, obviously, like I said, the pros to this is that this is free. It's really high quality. And as you can see, some of these are really cool, very creative. The con, though, is that let's say someone else uses the same image. Let's say, you're on Google and there's 100 other artists using this exact same boxing photo, which is very likely, And so that's pros and cons, obviously, And this is also something you just have to kind of figure out for yourself. Or let's say if, you're really looking for something super specific, you might want to take the photo yourself. This is completely up to you, keep in mind. I guess another option is you could always hire a photographer, but that costs a lot of money, and my goal for this was to be 100% free. And obviously when it comes to free, you mainly have 3 options: Pixabay, or free royalty-free image, take the photo yourself, or draw it yourself. So these are my 2 options right now. So I have the photo of me and this photo. So sometimes what I'll do is if I make a track that I know I can get that picture myself, like let's say I'm doing a track called Flower. I don't know why I do that, but let's say I made a track called Flower. I could always go out and take the photo of the flower myself. And then what I do is once I get the photo of flower or the flower or flowers, I then compare and contrast. So in this case, this actually looks kind of cool. I do like that one though. That is really cool. What am I between? I might do... you know, just because I took this for this video, I'm just going to use this one just for sake. But obviously, I can use either one. So once you find the photo that you're like, all right, now I have the photo, this is what I want to be my album cover. The next thing you want to do is you want to resize it so it's a square. This is super important. Trust me when I say this, do this before you even start editing the photo. The reason why is the last thing you want to do is do all this color correction and all this other stuff to the photo and then realize, shoot, I didn't even resize it. It might even come out now different. There may be aspects of the photo that won't even appear in the actual image. So on and so forth. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm obviously right now in Preview Editor in Mac. You can do this with any program though. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Do Control-Alt. So now I have the entire photo selected. Now what I'm going to do is do some cropping. So I'm going to go down here. Now, as you can see, it's 3024 by 3900-ish. So what I want to do now is kind of resize it to the point where it's 100% square. So I'm going to do that. So it does, all right, so this is obviously a photo from my iPhone. So duplicate it. All right, so I'm going to do copy. And I'm going to do this actually because most things wants to be a JPEG. So I'm just going to save it as a JPEG. I'll make the quality the best. And I'll just do shadow. I'll just save it in documents. Oh, dang it. Whatever. Anyway, so I have this here now. Next thing I want to do is I want to find maybe the center of the photo. So I'm going to do this. This is me just now kind of adjusting it. Now, I'm assuming because this has to be a square that I'm going to go from now bottom up. And I'm going to wait for it to be 2618. So 26. This is where it kind of gets annoying. Oh, I just had it. This is one of like, the worst parts of graphic design is that sometimes it gets jumbled. There it is. Got it. So I'm going to do Command K. Bam. So now I have my, actually it looks kind of cool. Why does it keep asking me that? And I'm just going to shadow. Does it appear? There it goes. There's shadow. Okay, I was like, what's going on? So I'm just going to close this out. So now I have my fully cropped artwork ready to go. So now I got it. I think this looks great. It is a square. It's the image that I want. Now the next step, and this is what kind of gets into the creative mode now. Obviously, having the right picture is creative. But now it gets into, okay, well, do I want to have weird designs? Do I want to have weird images? I mean, to show you, I'm actually going to do one. I made an album one time called, this I made from scratch, called Comedy House, where I blended comedy and electronic music. And you'll notice that on, let me go to images. On this one, you'll notice, and this is the image of it, that I just got a background, got unique fonts, I got all these weird pictures, because if you've ever been to a comedy show, the flyers are usually really cheesy. Like, this is actually usually how they look. So I got a bunch of different weird, royalty-free clip art pictures, like the stool, the microphone, this guy laughing, drama, you know, and kind of all designed this so it looked kind of like a comedy flyer. So again, this is where kind of the creativity now really comes into play, and everybody's different of the way they want their album cover to look, and it depends on what effect you're going for. For this, I want to be cheesy. I want to have all these weird things here. If I'm making a track called Shadow, I don't think I'm going to want all this cheesy stuff. It's probably more of a emotional or intense track. So in this case, I might not have all this weird stuff. So now here's what I'm going to do, and I'll just kind of make this, again, a one-size-fits-all video, because a lot of this comes to the creative process of you, whatever you want. The next thing I'm going to do, once I have this done, regardless of what I'm going to do next, whether I'm doing clip art or other weird things, the next thing I'm going to do is get a font that I feel represents the track. I always like to use a unique font. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to here, and obviously Pixabay is a great resource, like I said before, with photos. Now the font is another one. Now remember, just like photos, just like music, fonts themselves are the same art category, that some fonts are royalty-free, other ones are not. And what's ironic is that you have people saying, oh, like, don't pirate tracks, don't steal tracks, yet we'll steal fonts and not give credit. So this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go, now you have different categories here. You have fancy, foreign look, techno, bitmap, gothic, etc. I'm going to click on gothic, just get a feel. And this is where now it comes into, okay, well, what effect do I want? Now, obviously, as you can tell, I mean, these have certain things. I actually like this, because I think Shadow, if I made a track called Shadow, I feel like that's a bit more of a, like I said, emotional, intimate type song. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a script. So obviously, it's going to be in cursive. And then I'm going to go to more options, and this is super important, and go to 100% free. Basically, that means that I can use this font 100% for free and not run into any legal issues. Now, if you notice, free for personal use, it's good for personal use, but you're using it for a commercial purpose. If you're releasing a single on iTunes to download, so you can make money off it, well, it's not exactly for personal use. So I always make sure to put 100% free. That way I don't run into any issues. In addition, huge pro tip as well, remember that a lot of times you download fonts, you're going to get another text file that says read me. Always read that. And this site, Defont, may incorrectly categorize it. And the person who created it might say, hey, please don't use this for commercial purposes. If you do, please purchase the license to use it. So this one, I actually really like that. That's a cool font. So I'm going to click download. It's a zip file, which means it might have a readme. We'll see. Oh, no, it doesn't. So if it's just like this, you're good to go. I'm going to close out preview. I'll explain why, just because I want to load in the font. And this is hand letter ink is the name of it. Install font. All right, and then I'm going to close out font book, pull shadow back up. Now it's in the database. Now I want to figure out where I want to put this. Now this, again, for this video, it's very tough for me to make a one-size-fits-all artwork video. But this is now where it gets to the creative mode, because you may have a certain vision that I don't, and vice versa. You may have a specific thing that you're going for. So I'm going to put shadow, because that's the name of this track. And I'm going to go to the font again. So it looks like that. Now I'm going to stretch this out. And again, this is where it kind of comes down to some creativity. Now, if you notice the W's cut off, another big pro tip is to do space. Oh, shoot. Put this here. Space. So now the W is not, and I think the S looks a little cut off too. Okay, there you go. So now I have shadow. So now I have the actual font that I want. But now this is where it gets creative. Like, do you want shadow up here? As in, like, a small thing up there? Do you want it in the middle? You could have it at the bottom. You could have it anywhere on this photo that you think looks appeasing to the eye. For me, and again, I'm just doing this as if I was actually making this, this album cover. I'd probably do it there, because, and obviously I'm going to be editing this in post. I don't want to stress that. I like it there because I think it obviously is in the middle of the body, and it has a very unique vibe to it. So I'm going to put shadow probably like here. I might make this a little bigger actually too. Like I said in the beginning of this video, this is all unscripted, so I have no idea how this is going to come out. So I'm going to do that. Another big pro tip, always scroll that. Sometimes it glitches up a little bit, but always kind of go lower and bigger to see how it looks. Because a lot of times, if you think about, if you're on, like, I don't know why that's doing it, sometimes it gets glitchy. But if you're on, like, iTunes, you're probably going to see an image this big. And as you can imagine, when you zoom in on a photo, sometimes it gives you a different impression than if it's just small little thumbnail, right? So I actually like that. I think the shadow could be a little... Again, I'm just kind of eyeballing this. Yeah, that looks fine to me. Actually, I might raise this up just a little bit. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type in my name. Now, this is up to you. Some artists I know don't have their name on some of their album covers, or they'll just use their logo. Other artists might put their name. So this, again, depends on creative differences. For me, I actually like having my name written out on my artwork. Just personal preference. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in Forchero. And one big pro tip is, and this every graphic design artist knows this, you never want to have more than one interesting font on a photo. It gets too much for people. And so what I mean is that shadow is a very unique font, right? But if I put this Forchero as Georgia, well, that's a very normal font. There's nothing special about it. So it's kind of okay to have this. However, if I have it be Jazz Ball, well, that looks kind of conflicting because this is a very unique font. This is a very unique font. Now, in this case, the only exception would be, let's say I always use the same font. So for me, my main font that I use for a lot of my tracks is one called, let me see, where is, do I have it on here? I might not actually. No, I don't think I've used it in a while, but it's basically this one called Fortnite Victory. And, Fortnite Victory? I don't know how to pronounce it. But basically, that's one I used to use for a while, and that was the only exception to that rule. So if, like, you have a very specific font that you're artist's name is always written in, that's a little bit of an exception. But in this case, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use the same one, and I typically want my name to be usually a smaller font than the title of the track. So I'm going to do, let's say, 30. And now this comes down to, again. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because I can either put it, and I've done this before on my tracks, I can put it in the bottom right-hand corner, or I can put it with the title. Now, in this case, I'm going to make this smaller, actually. I'm going to go 40 on this. Now, this is where it kind of gets, again, the creative differences. I might actually put it there. Again, this is where it just comes creativity. Sometimes I actually do kind of like in the bottom right-hand corner, kind of like a signature. And I do like that. I might like it right there, actually, now that I think about it. But then if I do it there, then this has to be in the center. Like that. Shadow. Or I could do something like that. That's not bad. So that's how it would look on iTunes. I might actually, I'm gonna test that out and see how it looks when it's down here. These are basically my options, I believe, to be honest. Nope. I actually like that better, personally. All right, so now that this is done, now I know that this is set in stone, I'm gonna save it. And I'm going to basically close it out. And I'll explain why I'm doing this. The main reason why is now these things are basically locked into the photo. They're basically impressed. So now if I go to move this, I can't, right? Again, I'm using Preview Editor on Mac just because I want this to be 100% free. If you're using a more expensive program or other programs, you might be able to go back in and change the location of these fonts. But again, just want this to be straight up free programs. There are actually really good graphic design free programs out there, but I want this video to be as simple as possible. So now I have my photo. It's cropped the way I want. I have the unique font. At this point now, if you want to add in some graphics, you can. I actually want this photo, at least if I was making a track called Shadow, I'd actually want it to be very minimalistic like it looks. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is do some color correction. Now, I guess maybe color correction is not the best way to word this. What I'm really going to do is now edit the colors to blend them together. Now, similar to music production, when you have two different instruments or samples, sometimes when you process them together with the same effect, they start to blend together. For example, let's say I have a flute and an oboe, and they're very, very different instruments, kind of similar, but different instruments. And let's say I have a flute melody with an oboe melody behind it. Well, they're going to sound very different. They're going to sound like they're recorded differently. But if I throw in reverb with both of them, they start to sound like they were recorded almost in the same room because the effect is affecting both of them in the exact same way. Similarly, what I'm going to do here is now affect the exposure, contrast, highlights, and shadows. There's a lot of other features that you can do with more advanced programs. Obviously, again, I'm keeping this super simple. But here's now what I'm going to do is I'm going to affect everything. Actually, I'm going to do, I don't know what that line is there. I'm going to reset all. I'm not going to affect everything at once. So that way, oh, that's kind of cool, actually. So that way, it looks like that this is more part of the photo now. I'm going to touch up saturation a little bit. There. I'm not going to touch the temperature. Let me see how it highlights. And sometimes I don't exactly know. I'm going to do that so it looks more like a silhouette. Do just a little bit of the shadows. Sometimes CBI can do some cool things. I don't think... Actually, that actually does look kind of cool. I'm going to shoot a little hint of it like that. And then the last thing I'm going to do is adjust sharpness. Sharpness, basically, do you want it to be blurry or not blurry? This is actually a really good last thing. So I always save sharpness for last when adjusting the colors on it. I am going to go... So as you can see, this is super sharp. So now it's being, as you can see, it's being extremely sharp. And then this is extremely blurry. I actually like both. Actually, I equally like both. I might... Ooh, I don't know actually which one I like better. You could always go somewhere in the middle, but I feel like I like the polar opposites on this one. As you can see, when I make it blurry, it kind of almost looks a little bit illuminated because obviously the lines are more blurred. So it almost makes it a little more luminescent. Let me see this one again. You know, I'm just going to use maybe a hand. I don't want it to be... I don't know if I like that, actually. I might make it a little blurry. So it just adds a little bit of luminescence. Let me do this actually again. So not too much of a difference, I guess, when it's far away. And then zoom again. Yeah, I like that. So now I'm going to save it. I'm going to close it out again. So now all those parameters that I just affected are locked in. Here's another pro tip. I can do this again. So obviously, when you have preview editor, this is just specifically for preview editor on Mac. When you affect all the colors, it's going to stay like that. But once you save it and close out the program and open this back up, it's going to open it as if it never affected it. So if I go to adjust color, now you notice they're all the same. So I could even add more exposure, more contrast, more highlights, more shadows, and adjust it a little bit more. At this point, though, I actually like this. I'm not going to touch anything. I'm not going to affect it. That looks good to me. Close that again. And so this is our finished product.